brought an animal indoors. What did you expect when you took
Byron,
an
I got
animal?
I got a Bengal tiger for the office. It killed one agent, but they weren't very productive, so it was okay. If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate market conditions, the news, what's going on with the jobs reports, the Federal Reserve comments after the meeting, all of the above, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole here with Byron Lazine and Lisa Chinati. And we've got a jam-packed show here. The jobs report is being called game-changing. We're going to hit on that first. We also had the Federal Reserve predictably not make a rate cut this week. CoStar is going after Zillow with a copyright infringement case around rental listings. And Byron Lazine, he's on the show here, a guy named Strip Mall Guy. I don't know who this is, but I love the tweet. We're going to talk about it around communication and what agents should be thinking about doing. Let's start with the jobs report, you two. So the U.S. added 73,000 jobs in July. This came out this morning. And surprise, surprise, and the least shocking thing that we're going to talk about today, numbers for prior months were revised much lower. So job growth, again, was 73,000 for the month, above the June total, but below the Dow Jones estimate for a gain of 100,000. And June and May were revised sharply lower, down by a combined, wait for it, 258,000 jobs from previously announced levels. Are you kidding me here? Like, this happens every single year. Unemployment rose to 4.2%. I'm not surprised. This is kind of expected. We've seen the market tumble 700 points so far this morning when we're filming this. Right now, it's about 10:15. And Heather Long, the chief economist at the Navy Federal Credit Union, said this is a game-changer jobs report. The labor market is deteriorating quickly. Could be good news for mortgage rates. Byron, we'll start with you. Give us your reaction.
I mean, Powell mentioned it more than a handful of times during the presser and prepared statements on Wednesday afternoon after making the decision to not cut the federal funds target rate, that, we have to monitor upcoming downside to the labor market. Now, if you have, and he mentioned Wednesday, we had up to that point, basically what he would consider near maximum employment, which is one of the two dual mandates. Maximum employment, we've been around 4.1, 4.2% on unemployment. We have about 7 million job openings. If you want a job in this country, you can get one. There's not a lack of jobs. Wages aren't growing at the rate that they were growing before. They're growing at a more normal, healthy rate in terms of how you want to track it against inflation. And so you had in the hard data a really strong labor market. And you had Powell saying we have to consider the downsides coming potentially in the labor market. So maybe he knew this was coming. Now, this is now because, hard data to the contrary, that, maybe the labor market isn't as strong as the past 6 months, when all of a sudden here in 25, by the way, a downward revision of jobs is big news. When they were doing it in 23 and 24, never seemed to catch too many headlines. Caught some big headlines this morning. Anyways, if he knew this data, that would have been an argument for cutting the rate this past meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been a huge argument, because that would be something that gets him to move. Maximum employment is one of the top dual mandate. The other mandate is, obviously to get the inflation down to 2%, stabilize pricing, which ultimately we had a PCE report. Pricing is still in a really good shape. It's moving down on inflation rather. And so I think they missed I said it last week. I think they missed the boat by not cutting this meeting and this jobs report. We're going to get 2 of them before the next meeting, and they're going to go to Jackson Hole. So 3 major, milestones between now and the next meeting. This would have been a reason to cut, but they didn't do it.
Have they ever cut this, have they ever revised it? Do either of you know, have they ever revised the numbers so dramatically? Because I think it's like a 90% revision. Like when you look at the numbers, it went from May adding 144,000 to an actual 19,000. And then June was originally 147 and was adjusted down to 14,000. Like, have we ever adjusted that big?
There were some pretty big swings during the Biden administration. Just they all got buried in the sand. This is obviously anything that can go negative right now is going to be something that goes top. Now, the big difference between employment here, so the federal and government employment continued to decline, down 12,000 on the month and 84,000 since its peak in January. So this is before Doge and Elon's efforts there to reduce government employees, you had a few years in a row leading into 2025 of just crazy government hiring. Now, that is what propped up GDP because there was some reports that we went through last year. If you pulled the government hiring, if you sucked that out of the economy, GDP would have been flat, which is terrible in a presidential election year. And what did we just see in quarter two this week? We saw GDP come in at 3% when it was supposed to come in at 2.3%. That number can get revised down in the future, but that's one of those points of hard data that shows you the economy is kind of moving along here, despite obviously this number here today with the jobs report. So government employment isn't an indicator that you're moving in the right direction. They've pulled that out, and now you're kind of seeing that, hey, the private market probably needs this rate cut more than ever if it's going to stimulate job growth. And so Powell, cut the rate, and it'll take care of your maximum employment mandate because companies will have the money to go and invest and hire.
Yeah, it's interesting. The thing that stuck out for me when kind of looking at the report was, well, healthcare gained, and where we live, right, professional and business services lost 14,000 jobs, and manufacturing shed 11,000. A little bit less relevant to us, but thinking about professional and business services losing, the glass half full, maybe some opportunity for anybody who needs to hire right now, right? Opportunity to get some really good talent at maybe slightly lower rates. But just a big thing to watch when professional and business services start losing like that.
I said this a few weeks ago, I think, on the pod, where we had a few different job postings out, and I was like, oh, right now the job market is really in favor of the employer.
Yep.
As opposed to a few years ago. Just the amount of applications we were receiving. And again, we're not in a position, labor market, where the applicants were like 20 applicants, nobody had work, and everybody was just looking for a job. Everybody had a job. They were looking maybe to make a move, some kind of move. But what's funny is you have a group that have the mindset of the 2020, 2021 mindset that they can negotiate ridiculous terms as the employee. And I was just like laughing. It's like, I got like 3 candidates here that are all basically even, and I'll just go negotiate with the other one, make an offer to the other one, and they'll accept. That happened twice now, where we had like ridiculous levels of, made an offer to somebody and they come back with just ridiculous levels. Like, no, you can continue to do what you're doing, and we'll go in the other direction. So there's a lot of leverage on the hiring standpoint.
Yeah. So I think for anybody who's kind of, even in the real estate space, looking to add a position, maybe thinking slightly ahead of something that you want to add for next year, I think that there might be an opportunity to think about maybe doing it a little bit early to kind of capitalize on that. Just a thought.
So, Lisa, to answer your question here, there were 2 times where jobs were revised just like this. I'll give you guys, you're not going to be surprised by either moment in time. One was last year, so we already knew that. The other was 2009. There was a 902,000 job downward revision that was made based on a March 2009 employment level of 130.5 million. It was the largest annual benchmark revision since the early 1990s. And if you go back any further, they don't have the data to track it. Well, shockingly, the economy was in flux then too. And I think that there's a lot of similarities in that you're on the back end of a low level of transaction. The market's in flux. I mean, that's very similar to, I mean, not similar reasons, but similar kind of time, if you will. So it doesn't happen often. But, you know, and I think, Byron, you got a great point that there's the question of, like, did they know about this data or not? Which brings me to our next topic, which is, for the first time since 1993 at the Fed meeting, we saw 2 governors not vote in line with the Federal Reserve. I think I know who both of them are. It's probably the 2 that spoke out after the last meeting. Not shocking here that Jerome Powell did not, and the Fed did not make a rate cut. Although the odds jumped up based on today's numbers to 79.3% that we're going to see a rate cut at the next meeting in September. It's very likely, you know, Governor Waller and Governor, what was her name here? I'm sorry. Michelle Bowman. They were the ones that came out and spoke right after the last meeting. I mean, what does this dissension in the Fed mean? I mean, Byron, you said he was too late. I mean, tell me what you think about this public dissension, because this isn't something we usually see.
Well, I got commented on IG. Somebody I respect too commented on IG saying don't use the too late.
Oh, he avoided that question, Tom.
Saying don't use. I'll pull it up.
I mean, I can look it up. I thought he might.
It was an agent in the community. It was a BAM post. I commented too late. What did we put up on BAM? We put the the Federal Reserve unchanged. I just put too late, which is the nickname that Trump has given Powell. And Steve Robbins from the community, shout out to you, Steve, says, I respect you, everything you built, but I'm disappointed you were buying into the name calling. And I would just say,
he know you?
Steve, I love you, but let's not get emotional about names. And too late's not a bad name. It's not like some of the names he gave Rosie O'Donnell.
Of what what a lot of people think the Fed's doing. So it's a little of both.
Well, I mean, but that wasn't the intent, and we all know that.
No, but this is my point is this is a reference to a now 4-year history of what's going on. I wrote, Bobby, you can put the whole commentary here so people can make their own decision on the screen. I wrote, too late is more of a reference to waiting too long to increase rates, which is why we had massive inflation to begin with. Transitory was the favorite word from the Fed when it was clear printing all that unnecessary money was going to increase prices. See April 2021, when they printed an additional $2.3 trillion, shoved it down the throats of Congress. Both sides of the aisle accepted it. And that is what poured gasoline on the inflation fire. When I hear comments about, well, the Fed's in a tough spot. Well, the Fed put us in a tough spot. They printed 80%. I'm going to keep saying this number till it actually hits home with people. 80% of the dollars in circulation were printed in the last 4 or 5 years. 80%. Why do you think home prices aren't coming down and we're going to skid along 4 million existing home sales for the foreseeable future? Why would home prices come down when you got all this free inflationary money flying around? So to pretend like the Fed doesn't have any part of what's going on is just short-sighted. And those that are there's a clip of Elizabeth Warren, who I think did a great job this week with Tim Scott. They did a bipartisan bill. It was 24-0. It was a housing bill. But there's a clip of Elizabeth Warren last year saying in September, coinky dink, I think not, 2 months before the presidential election, we need to cut rates. We need to cut rates. That's the only time Powell cut rates was leading up to the presidential election. And then April of this year, new president, she says, we don't need to cut rates. That would be crazy for the economy. So, analysts and politicians are flip-flopping back and forth based on who they like. And it's just clear to me that there has been a lot of work done to try to fix an economy that has been struggling the last 2 or 3 years. And the last piece we really need is rates. Today's job report kind of solidifies that for me. And for the first time since 93, you see 2 dissenting members of the committee. This never happens. I think it's healthy. Some are going to argue, Tom, that, well, they're just being political. They want the Fed chair in May, and I think they do want the Fed chair. But
I
I would
agree with
also
that.
argue,
Yeah, I mean, that's clear.
I would also argue that it's like, to me, it's clear we should be cutting rates at this point. And for 9 members of the committee to say it's not clear, I think there should be this dissent. There should be this debate going on in the Fed. And I would love to hear the conversations, which we won't, but there's some calls now to hear the recordings from those meetings. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
And wouldn't that be nice? Is that in their $3.1 billion renovated headquarters that's going on right now? I mean, the president visited there this week. It's close enough. Sorry, I was off by. I was looking at
Trump had the 3.1 number, which included a building from 5 years ago per.
Okay, there we go. All right. See, this is why we have Byron on the show. He's analyzing this like an auditor. It's incredible. But I do think that it's time to cut these rates. I mean, you look at the jobs report. It's like, why can't they get this? Why can't they schedule these things? Like, why didn't the meeting have to happen like after the jobs report get released? Like, wouldn't that made this a lot easier? I mean, you're off by like 2 days here. It doesn't make any sense. If I'm running a business, which I do, we make data-based decisions. Lisa, we've talked about this, inspecting, looking on this is like management 101 here. And why couldn't you just have the meeting next week? They're not meeting for another 2 months. I mean, is it going to interrupt their Jackson Hole retreat? Where I bet you, I have a prediction right now. I bet you he's going to get on stage in Jackson Hole and do the same thing he did last year and signal a policy shift right afterwards, when they could have done something now that would have been a lot more meaningful for the markets and for a lot of people that are out there. I don't know why you couldn't have. Why wait until the data, meet right before the data comes out? It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, they know this stuff's happening.
He did it last year because it was leading into an election.
Okay, well,
I'm pretty convinced of that at this point, and so you can.
You're such a conspiracy theorist.
No,
he has a tinfoil hat underneath his desk.
Exactly.
I saw it.
I'm pretty convinced that there have been. I mean, how has the data changed? The only thing that's changed is tariffs. Tariffs are. You've had a lot of these partisan analysts have to walk back. Saw Bill Maher, who
I was going to say that. I saw that he was like, I'd never seen him so mea culpa before. He's like, oh well, I guess the tariffs don't mean what they did, and he looked like he was like, he had these like sunglasses on. That was a wild interview.
Oh, he's smoking a blunt.
I mean, maybe that's why he was talking. He was speaking his mind because he was all high.
But it's 4 months now of tariffs. If you listen to a lot of these analysts, and certainly the partisan hackery that was going on when tariffs came out in April, they said we'd be in a full-blown recession by July and the stock market would be in the tank. Now, the stock market is down today on these job numbers, but that's coming off of, 3, 4, 5 all-time high new records over the last few weeks. Stock market is ripping at a level we've never seen before. And you also are bringing in, they've had to walk back their comments because we're bringing in billions on these tariffs. You brought in a surplus for the first time in June. So there are a lot of things that are working. You can hate the administration who's making these decisions, but you can't deny that the W's that they're posting right now. And this is the last piece to kind of get the economy going into the right direction over the next couple of years is the rates. But obviously you're not going to get participation right now from Jerome Powell. He wanted to wait on 2 things: the impact on tariffs, that has looked pretty good so far, and the impact on the jobs. Well, you got your jobs report today. Too bad your next meeting's not for 45 days. So I guess people are going to have to suffer over the next month and a half.
What do you think, Lisa?
I have nothing else to add. I
came prepared.
You guys have said it all. So, you said it all. There's not much else to add to it. So it is what it is.
All right.
What other topic?
Let's talk about this lawsuit here. So, and we're going to go to Lisa first on this because Lisa is the portal queen in real estate. She knows all about all the portals. They're all her best friends. So CoStar, they are suing Zillow for rampant copyright infringement. There was more than 46,000 photos of CoStar's copyrighted photographs on Zillow.com and its partner sites. And now Zillow could be potentially liable for more than $1 billion in damages. The one thing I'll add here, and I want to get your reaction to this, is that Notorious Rob, he's was at Bam Mania over in the fall, and he talked about that this is a play out of CoStar's playbook that they use in the commercial real estate field when they were looking to take market share and take their place as number one, where they were suing their competitors for things like this. What do you think about this, Lisa? I mean, the copyright and photos is real. Like this people get fined thousands of dollars in the MLS for doing this with Bright MLS. I mean, do you think there's legs to this lawsuit? Should Zillow be worried? Is this how Zillow gets taken down by a lawsuit like this? I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, well, so super interesting. There's some backstory that I don't know if either of you know or if any of our listeners know, but in 2019, CoStar actually sued another company for the same thing. It was a company called Excelligent. I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but they're no longer in business. So that's going to give you some tip off for what happened. So in 2019, CoStar obtained a $500 million judgment against this particular company for the publication of 38,000 copyrighted photos. So there is some history where this is a legitimate claim. And so to kind of give everybody some context into what they're claiming, this actually becomes really big because Zillow was not just like taking those copyrighted photos and using them, but what they were doing was feeding them onto Zillow in order to entice property managers or property owners to claim their property on Zillow's website. So it was a kind of a land grab to move those particular consumers to take an action and potentially buy a marketing package on Zillow's website to manage their own rentals there, as opposed to just managing them on apartments.com. Now, these photos, they've probably got the documentation on them, but CoStar actually paid for these photos. So they actually own the photos. It appears as though most of them were taken and watermarked by CoStar staff members, paid staff members. So that's like a big part of this. The other side of it is that then Zillow was taking them and syndicating them out to Realtor.com, and I believe the other one was Redfin, though I could be wrong on that secondary website. But I know they were being syndicated out to at least Realtor.com and one other website. So Andy's been loud this week, right? Because wasn't it this week where he also got on stage and said that he was number one, or that Homes.com had gotten number one status?
It was based on how he thinks about number one. It's like an agent saying, "I'm number one because I bought a ad in Top Agent magazine."
Right, no doubt. But so he's been a little bit loud this week, made that claim. And of course, as the headlines go out, right, like he's just a puffer. And we all know puffers in the industry.
What's a puffer, Lisa, for all the people listening? I know we know what it means. I think we need to define this pretty clearly.
Well, I mean, it's somebody who inflates stats in a way that either is A, just totally not factual, or B, is designed to make them look good without really kind of giving context. So I think you can use it in a couple of different ways. But one is, we all know agents who say, "Oh, I sold 100 homes last year," and they sold 75. And let's be real, 75 is still great, but you can't say you sold 100.
But it's not 100. It's not 100. That's
right.
That's a 33% inflation. And you're right. This industry is full of people like that. Keep going.
Yep. Or people who want to take, I also consider a puffer, and I know I've addressed this a couple of times on the pod. It's okay to say that you want to chase volume or units, but let's be real. What matters at the end of the day? Profit. And yes, there's no shame in saying that profit matters. And there's no shame in being able to say, I'm going to take a step back and do the right thing for my business and make a sound, sustainable business. So anybody who focuses just on those top line numbers without understanding the true business economics behind it, I also consider that puffing. And so it's
dumb.
Oh yeah, 100% stupid.
Well,
And
it's dishonest. It lacks integrity, and if they're puffing on stage or inflating on stage, they're doing the same thing to clients, and
Mhm.
yep,
that's where a smart agent, if you ask who you're interviewing against and bring the actual sales numbers, I've won listings like this where they're like, "Oh, I'm selling all these houses." I'm like, "You sold 2 last year. We sold 500. Who are you going to list with?" And that's the end of the conversation. So great observation there. It's dishonest. It's stupid. And apparently, Lisa thinks Andy Florence is a puffer. So keep going.
well, I mean, yeah, no doubt. But that being said, if I don't know if either of you have actually taken a look at it, but I went over to apartments.com and I typed in a town, and then I went over to and pulled up a listing, right? So I pulled up one, and then I go on over to Zillow. I pulled up that same listing, and you know what? The photos are the same. Like, and so if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, one has to start to wonder if it's a duck. And so, based upon the previous award, $500 million, over $500 million in 2019, the numbers are about the same. It's slightly more photos that they're alleging were infringed upon the copyright right now. But I don't know. If I'm Zillow, I'm not just totally dismissing this as some of the other lawsuits that they've faced earlier this year. I think it could be problematic. So I don't know. Have you guys looked into it? What are your thoughts?
Well, they did this to LoopNet as well. So, I mean, this looks like unfortunately, people use litigation as a tool to try to take down businesses in this industry.
Yep.
And and usually it's people that are inflators or puffers, and they're not focused on the main thing in their business. They're trying to win in other arenas. So, I mean, it worked for them. Great. But I don't know. I don't do business that way. Byron, what do you think? You're always in the know on this stuff.
What do I think? From what I understand, Lisa, is that some of the photographers are actually CoStar employees.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what they're alleging, that they're CoStar employees who take the photos for the specific use and exclusive use on CoStar websites, be it apartments.com or LoopNet or the
So
like.
it's for exclusive use. And if you go to the article, we'll link it into the show notes. It's on nowbam.com. I mean, there's multiple screenshots within this complaint. The entire lawsuit complaint is there. But these screenshots do clearly show on Redfin Realtor, which have the partnership with Zillow, right? Everything that now Zillow controls the multifamily rental space out of those three, they feed into Realtor and Redfin with their partnerships that's provided by Zillow on those two sites because they struck deals over the last, I guess, year or so. But you see that these photos do have the CoStar logo in the
They're watermarked.
the watermarking
Yeah.
logo. And so that's definitely problematic. Okay. Because it's not where you don't want to get confused on this is it's not a agent who hired a photographer and posted it on the MLS and it went to all these different, so you have to pay for placement on apartments.com. So it's not that scenario where, agents will be like, this is where some agents might get it confused. They'll pay a local photographer that all your competitors use as well, by the way. They'll pay a local photographer to take photos of a listing. They lose the listing. They get emotionally upset when the next listing agent is using those photos. How could they do? Those were my photos. Mine. It's like a little kid. Mine. It's like, no. Did you ever read the contract? The photographer owns the photos. And every photographer does this or their business would be worthless. They own the photos. So that when you lose the listing, they don't have to go out and reshoot the deal. They sell the photos, the licensing to the next agent. And you get emotionally upset because you didn't read your contract and you don't understand how the photography works. You can get emotional about it, but it's a contract.
Well, but in those cases, let's be real. Has the second agent actually gone to the photographer and paid for the photos again? Be real.
There's been a couple
sometimes
instances where this has happened to me.
Well,
No, it's happened to me a couple times.
That's when the photographer will go after that agent. I know what you're saying. They go and take the photos from the
They
internet
just
and use
take
them.
a cheap screenshot right off of
Or they
MLS and
download the
pretend
file,
that it
right
totally,
I mean, a
click
yeah.
it.
smart photographer owns the licenses going and
I
going
don't
after them.
disagree with you. I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I do disagree
I
with
know
the
what you're
point
saying.
that
Yeah.
most agents go to that photographer. I don't think that happens. And in those instances, does the original agent have a right to be upset? Probably not. But is it
Well, it's
as
a
and
waste
not
of time to be
is
upset.
well, yeah. But is the second agent doing something like have they still done something wrong? Yes. It's just that the wrong person is complaining about the
Mhm.
Oh
wrong.
yeah, I'm not saying that second agents, really winning any relationships that are going to matter in the
Right.
future in their community for
Yep.
sure. But it comes down to who owns the photos, and this would, if that's the case, if CoStar employees took these photos and they were exclusively taken for this site and not kind of fed into, which they're not fed in, obviously in this case is what CoStar is claiming, into Zillow, they're going to have a pretty cut and dry case. It gets interesting. You start looking at this stuff. This one should be cut and dry. In the AI world, when AI is pulling stuff from the internet and then you're using it to create something like, who it because there's the argument on ChatGPT. With they're pulling information from a book, it's like, is that book getting a royalty? It's kind of like with, what happened with the music industry. Is that creator getting any credit? And
Mhm.
so you're going to see, this is one that is happening in our world, but you're going to see a lot of this. This looks more like, hey, I'm just taking this and putting it on my site, and it's pretty cut and dry. But with AI, where's the information coming from? You're going to see a lot of these copyright lawsuits, and they're going to have to figure this out from the courts, where it's like, what truly is copyright anymore and not. This one has been pretty cut and dry over the years, in the past, right? I mean, Zillow paid that judgment on the previous case that you're talking about, Lisa.
No, that wasn't Zillow.
Who was that?
It
Here, I
was a
got it.
company called X something or other. I'm gonna butcher the name. I said it before.
I just have it right here. Hold on. It was Excelsior or something.
Exceligent. No,
Yeah, that's it.
Xceligent,
Mhm.
and they filed to liquidate. So, but CoStar did obtain the judgment against them for $500 million. And so,
I
go ahead.
I got a better question. How does Zillow not see this coming? Right? I mean, they got millions of
Here,
attorneys. I mean, I'm shocked they didn't, this you're a target when you're a big company. All
well,
our companies are targets, right? I mean, I get targeted with nonsense all the time. Zillow's, exponentially larger. How do they not see this coming?
Tom, did they not see it coming, or
Or did they just not care?
is it
Yeah.
the cost of doing
Good
business?
point.
Zillow's rental revenue in quarter one of 2025 jumped 33% year over year.
What was that revenue? Do you have the number?
2.2 active rental listens by quarter one. We could probably pull it. We can
Because
pull it probably from the
if
earnings report.
if you think about it, right? So if you think about how long this has been happening, who knows how long it's been happening,
Bobby,
right?
can you try to
But
find that?
say it's been happening for 3 years before CoStar took a stand on it. And so if you just look at it and say the cost of doing business, did they make more than $1 billion?
That's right. And
Right?
what's the life
129 million in Q1 of 2025.
on just the rental side of the business?
Zillow's rental revenue,
Okay.
129 million, and that's
And so that's quarter one. You compound that going forward, growth on top of growth. What's the lifetime value of these customers?
Right.
All of that kind of fits into the equation. And so they might have just said, hey, this is the risk we're willing to take for the growth that
Yep.
we're going after now. That is an opinion of mine. That is not anything more than that. I'm just kind of putting that out there. But it's a reminder of something that I've been talking about a lot. These companies are playing a much bigger game than your little mom and pop brokerage shop likely is, than your typical agent mindset out there. It's so outdated right now. Look at the game Zillow and CoStar are playing. Look at the game that Redfin and Rocket are playing. Look at the game. Look at Compass. They're saying one of our, business initiatives right now is to be in the mix on these lawsuits, to almost be front and center of what a lot of people consider noise and a distraction on reshaping the rules in this industry. The game that's being played isn't going to just stop here on, market share. They're chewing and eating alive business models that have existed for years in terms of lead generation. And if you think, there's only a certain amount of buyers and sellers that are going to go to platforms like Zillow or apartments or, homes or what have you, and then all the kind of like in my town networking stuff is, still that percentage is still going to be there. That percentage is declining. It's shrinking. You've got to figure out in your business how to generate traffic the way these companies are actively competing, because 5-10 years, I'll tell you one thing, we'll clip this out in about 5, 6, 7 years. In 5 to 10 years, this landscape of all the fragmented companies across the industry is going to look dramatically different. You're going to have 3, 4 big ones, and they're going to have gobbled up almost everything. And there's going to be a lot of small little players on the outside looking in.
It's kind of it's Uber and Lyft, right? Look at what happened to all the taxi companies. Like, I agree with you 100%. That same thing is going to shake out.
I mean, when was the last time you saw a taxi? I don't see them in Philadelphia anymore. Occasionally at the airport, right? And I mean, this is like the 6th largest metro in the country. You're in Boston, big downtown area as well. And plus, riding in a taxi sucks compared to getting in. Well, some Ubers also suck, but that's
a lot of Ubers suck.
Well, my husband's car was totaled by an Uber driver a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I told you guys that.
He did not tell us that. Is he okay?
I'm glad
he wasn't in it. Okay. It was it was parked on the street. Worse. Yeah, no, it was heinous. He was parked on the street and used to drive a Tesla, and he got the alert that like something major had happened to the car, and pulled up the video because Tesla records everything, and saw the car totally hit it sideswipe and drive away. But it captures license plate information. And thankfully, there were a lot of people on the street because it was the middle of the day in the city. And somebody ran after him, and he came back, and he said he dropped his phone while he was driving down our street and took out my husband's car.
There's no safer consumer car right now to be driving than a Tesla. I mean, it's outrageous how safe. I mean, if you've got the FSD, full self-driving, like no human can drive better than FSD. On a Tesla.
And in the city, there's no chance I'm trusting
Mario.
Ready?
There's no. You couldn't be here.
That's because Boston was designed by like 4-foot men with no teeth. I mean, back in the day, the people, they were drinking cheap whiskey. They were 4 feet tall and they had no teeth, and they were making roads in that city that still exists today. That's just Boston's problem. But the rest of America, where we have normal roads, no problem.
I don't know. Well, I wouldn't use it off the highway in Westford or Chelmsford either. I don't trust it that much yet.
Oh my God, when's the last time you used FSD?
Me, I use it on the highway every single day in my commute, but I will not use it on the back roads.
Maybe I'm just a terrible driver. Maybe I'm a terrible driver.
Byron's got
way better than me.
They have these Waymo cars coming out. I don't know if you guys have seen these. Yeah. They're a Jaguar electric car. And
there's a big debate about those in Boston.
Well, they're testing them out in Philadelphia as well. And what they're doing now is they're just driving the landscape to memorize like where the potholes are, what's on the highway, all those things. So this technology I think is only going to get better. I tend to agree with Byron there, but they're mapping it out, Lisa, which I think is pretty smart. And
same in Boston, yeah.
I think that you talk about the game here, Byron, right? Well, you don't know where the competition is going to come from. You see Zillow and CoStar going at it. Well, let's take Uber and Lyft. Now you got Waymo, and they got these. They're building their infrastructure, and that's all the more reason this landscape's going to look a lot different. It's a great example. Speaking of your opinion, Byron, go ahead.
These guys aren't placing these kind of bets. They're not placing these kind of bets, making these type of lawsuits if they didn't see a path of consolidation speeding up. Consolidation in the industry is going to speed up, not slow down.
I don't know that I actually. Well, so I don't. Interestingly,
The indie broker on
Shocking.
the show does not agree. What a shocker, Byron.
Well,
This is very
I was trying to get her riled up with that comment.
well, because I don't think that this lawsuit is to aim towards consolidation. I do think
No, not this
consolidation.
lawsuit.
No.
Okay.
My
All
point
right.
is, when you just look at the girth of how many lawsuits are happening, they're placing such huge bets. They're
Did
in
you
the high.
check?
Did you say girth? Like what?
Like a 12-year-old boy.
Like how
12-year-old
big
boys are more
the
mature than me,
pile
like.
is. How big the sample size is. They're in the high limit room and they're pushing their chips into the middle, because on the backside of what's going to happen in 5-6 years, there's going to be so much consolidation. They're going to win so big that they can take a couple L's in the courtroom, and it's not going to put them out of business because they're going to own a whole bunch of other companies. That's where I see it going.
We're going to clip this out in 5 years when we're still doing the pod. So you got one other opinion here, Byron. That's your opinion on that. I like this next opinion. There's Real Estate Trent. So he's that's his handle on Twitter. He's got a lot of followers. He's got 264,000.
Yeah, he's big on Twitter.
He's featured on The Real Deal. So I'm gonna follow him here. This is the first time I heard of him. Doesn't mean anything. He writes, I call, you text, I call, you text again. You guys under 30 crack me up. What is it? Is it embarrassing to be on the phone? Genuinely curious what the deal is. You're going to do fewer deals this way, promise, which I 100% agree with. Byron chimes in, this has unfortunately become an epidemic for new agents. I blame lack of quality training at brokerage level and some lack of willingness to be trained with some agents. Ignore the pontificators. Pros deal with pros. Level the F up. This is a real problem, and I'll tell you why. I see this happen constantly, not only when you're talking to other agents, but imagine you send a client a text message longer than your iPhone Plus. You can't even read it. And this happened. I got one yesterday from another agent about something that was handled in a 30-second phone call. And people send these messages at all hours. You don't get to hear tonality, because imagine if I said, hey, Lisa, we got an offer in on your home, or hey, great news, we got an amazing offer, right? Like that's a different message there, right? Like that's
but it was also different words.
Lisa, we got an offer in on your home, or Lisa, we got an offer in on your home. Same words, right? I mean,
now you got the same words. Now
don't tell me tonality doesn't matter. We're not going to.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but devil's advocate, the two things that you said first were totally different.
Okay, fair enough. And so, if you don't know how to talk to people on the phone, and especially think about some of the consumers you're dealing with, right? There's all these baby boomers selling out there. You think they really want to be dealing with someone texting them like my 11-year-old daughter texts her dance friends in the next room? No, and it's a real problem. And people are afraid of difficult conversations. Real Estate Trent's right. Byron doubled down. I'm going to 3X it. What do you think, Lisa?
I'll agree. And I was so focused on your words, I just lost track of what you were saying.
You blacked out? That was it?
My mind went somewhere else. I'm sorry.
So, Byron, you got fired up about this while she gathers herself here. I mean, I think this is 100% spot on. I think it's
listen, I got so many different takes in my DM. Obviously, there was a lot. Like, there's an independent broker owner who I was just chatting with. Shout out to Leanne Jameson, who's a broker owner, who was like, totally agree. This is a huge problem. A lot of agreement on that. But there was a lot of takes, I will tell you, that were sticking up for texting. I've got one here. Texting is just as valid communication as calling. I
disagree with that.
Agents over 40 are mad because they don't respond fast enough via text and want to be called, and vice versa. And so I responded here, the only texters. Okay. So like, if that's the title of people, like I only text, or
I'm a text first kind of person. Yeah. I agree.
I'm an OnlyFans kind of person, which I'm not, but only texters.
Imagine what Byron's OnlyFans account would be like. It'd just be him yelling at himself. It'd be incredible.
Be like me interviewing Leah Perea from.
So it's like
All
it's
right.
Pat. Byron, you're smart enough. You're good enough. Go ahead.
Only
Going off the rails.
texters miss nuance in deals, which causes them to lose deals they would have had. Both work and both are needed. You know,
I agree with that.
a text message is not designed for the paragraphs that Lisa's talking about. It's designed for speed. I wouldn't call Lisa to tell her something real quick, like, hey, take a look at this. Here it is. You know, take a look at this. Need you to see it. Then we can talk about it later. But I don't need to call her and say, take a look at this, then send it to her. Then, you know, but a conversation, the nuance in a deal, price isn't the only variable in getting a deal done.
Mhm.
And I think only texters just think if I have the lucky number and they can read the contract, then they'll pick me. Well, that's not being an agent. An agent finds nuances, finds that little thread that maybe I can fit my client's needs between and come out the other side and get the deal. There are those little openings that live outside of price only. Now, you need to be close on price to be in the conversation. But in the last hour of the decision-making process of the sell side, if we're talking about the buy side, there's that small window that you might be able to have a conversation and win for your client. And in that window is where those conversations need to be made. Just think about phone interviews versus Zoom interviews versus in-person interviews.
Mhm.
Okay. Think about when you go out to dinner with somebody, how much more do you learn about why they're doing things a certain way, why they think about the world a certain way. Things come out in person a lot differently when you're having a real conversation.
One thing I want to
yeah.
add here. Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to say, to Byron's point, I think that there's a place for both, and especially in real estate transactions with co-brokes and with consumers. I am a huge fan of have the conversation and then follow it up with a text or an email, reiterating everything that was said. It's a CYA thing.
Well, that was a comment I got. Well, it's not documented. Well, you can still document it.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. And there are instances where sometimes, and we've all been there, right? Like you dealing with a really nasty, I was going to say a word I shouldn't say, really nasty human on the other side of the transaction. And you know that the conversation just gets heated and contentious every time. Those are some situations where I tell agents just do it all in text or email so that you take out the potential for conflict. But for the most part, I agree 100%. It should be a phone call, then an email or a text message that confirms it and memorializes it for a record later in the future.
I know we all got to run.
Here.
Yeah, I've got one thing to add too, but go ahead.
Right, you'll wrap it up. So there's also this propensity to text first, right? So this happens all the time. Hey, I texted you. I get these from agents. They're texting a landline in the MLS because they don't care to pick up the phone. And they're saying things like, my client's interested. I've got questions about the offer. Why didn't you get back to me? I asked what number when I called them back, and they say, oh, it's this number. I'm like, you're texting a landline like a moron. This is what happens when you go text first. Phone numbers are meant to be called. We are a call first team. It's worked out pretty well for most agents. This isn't agents over 40. This is common sense.
Here's the other thing. Who texts better right now? AI or humans?
Ooh.
So if you're only texter, guess what? You've just been replaced because AI texts a lot better than you do right now. Not in the future coming, not a fear tactic. Right now, I have better text conversations with chat and with Grok than I do with human beings. So if you're an only texter, fine. You're so replaceable.
That's all we got this week. What a great way to you guys got me fired up. I'm going to make like 300 phone calls today. This is going to be great.
Have a good weekend. Stay on the phones. Do what only humans can do great. Do what you do better than anybody else, and you're going to win in this market. I don't care what AI Powell does.
Oh, and you two are on your own next week. I'm out. Just
thanks.
FYI.
Thanks, Lisa.
Sorry.
All right.
It'll be an extra angry show next week without Lisa's voice of reason here. Way
to let everybody know so the numbers tank. Oh, it's just Byron and Tom. I don't have to tune into next week.
What a sabotage. See you.
Yeah, sabotage us. See you guys. Have a good weekend. You've got a CRM for leads. Great. Don't want that to go away. But what about your clients? Most agents drop the ball after the deal. That's why they're called past clients. There's real money is in the referrals, the repeat business, staying top of mind for a year, making past clients actual clients. If your follow-up is just random check-in or a happy home anniversary, you're invisible. That's why my team uses Mosaic, and that's why the Mosaic team just made it available to all BAMX members at no additional monthly cost. Mosaic is a high-touch client experience platform. It picks up where your CRM leaves off, personalized property search, offer comparisons, real-time transaction timelines, automated homeowner reminders, equity updates long after the closing. This means your clients feel supported with you without duct taping 5 different systems together. And here's what makes this deal insane. Mosaic is normally $150 to $250 a month, but BAMX members, you get full access included in your $97 a month membership. If you're doing the math, that's like us paying you $150 every month just to stay ahead of your clients, just to keep your clients clients. Spots are limited by market for Mosaic. Some are already full. So if you're in a competitive area, go claim your seat now. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link. Thank you so much for checking out this week's Knowledge Brokers podcast. If you want to take what we're doing here at BAM and use it in your own business, join us over at School. We just switched BAMX into the #1 education and community platform. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link in the description, school.com/BAMX. I'll see you in the community.